Hello everyone and welcome back to Matt's Mysteries. I'm Matt, also known as The Rock if he were a not jacked shrinky dink and you put him in the oven. And today, we're getting straight up extraterrestrial. There are a lot of alleged alien encounters that I've looked into over the years. And while some of them point to Cletus huffing far too much paint thinner, there are others that I find just too interesting to keep to myself. This is the first of one of those encounters that I want to share. Anyway, if you like guns, gremlins, mystery, and money, then stick around because I'm going to tell you the story behind the Kelly-Hopkinsville Goblins. On a warm August night in 1955, Billy Ray Taylor, a native of Pennsylvania, was visiting his friend Elmer "Lucky" Sutton at his farmhouse in the tiny town of Kelly, located in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Billy had exited the property, heading for the well to collect some water, like all good friends should. Suddenly, and without warning, something in the sky caught Billy's attention. He described it as a silvery object that was streaking across the sky, and by his own account was
real bright, with an exhaust all the colors of the rainbow.
In a clear panic at seeing such a bizarre and probably frightening sight, Billy flew through the farmhouse door, quickly informing the others of what he had just seen. Who were those others, you might be asking? Well, the other occupants of the house include Billy's wife, as well as the entire Sutton family, and an assortment of pets. Billy had also recounted that he hadn't heard or seen an explosion, though did mention hearing a distinct hissing noise as the object appeared to have landed somewhere just behind the farmhouse. Obviously skeptical at the fact that Billy had just told a house full of people that he had seen a genuine, bona fide alien UFO, the group more or less just shrugged him off and didn't take his story very seriously. That is, until the dogs outside began to bark and growl. It seemed as if they had seen something that was approaching their house. While describing their experience to the police, the terrified occupants of the Sutton household mentioned that what was approaching their house had rather round, oversized heads and incredibly long arms, equipped with what appeared to be long talons that nearly scraped the ground beneath them. These invaders appeared to shimmer and glow, even in complete darkness, with their eyes glowing with an eerie yellow hue, and their bodies shimmering and glinting as if they were made of some sort of silvery metal. What's more terrifying about those at the Sutton farmhouse seeing what appeared to be glowing metal aliens with claws is the fact that they were getting closer and closer to the property. With all of that said, it must be noted that those in the Sutton farmhouse were fighters, and, like how some Americans are, were armed to the teeth, ready to defend their home no matter how extraterrestrial the threat may be. Lucky and Billy quickly grabbed their rifles and braced for the ensuing battle that would likely occur. An eerie silence and stillness fell over the house and its inhabitants, shattering when one of the creatures approached a window, pressing its face against the glass. This act was what signified the start of the battle, and the men began firing. For nearly 4 hours, the creatures would approach the house and quickly retreat as the men defended the property. They seemed to bounce around and flip up into the trees when fired at, seemingly evading all attacks. In a particularly terrifying turn, one had allegedly even hopped up above Billy and grabbed at his hair. A truly terrifying series of events I can't relate to because, fun fact, there is no hair on my head. Anyway, when the siege on the Sutton farmhouse had seemingly ended, Many of the occupants of the house piled into a car and sped off into town to report the attack to local police and beg for help. Four officers of the Hopkinsville Police Department, including the chief himself, drove out to the farmhouse with the terrified people to survey the scene and decipher what happened. Unfortunately, the authorities found no obvious signs or evidence of any sort of little silver men who had attacked the property. But despite this, it was clear that the occupants of the farmhouse were genuine in their fear and terror. Get this. One of the men even had a pulse that clocked in at 140 beats per minute, also known as the tempo of the average dubstep song. It's just a fun fact for you. Anyway, according to Chief of Police Russell Greenwell,
these aren't the kind of people who normally run to the police for help.
So it goes without saying that something truly traumatizing and serious must have gone down. It should also be noted that at least one of the officers had believed Billy and Lucky's story. While Sergeant Frank Dudas had not been one of the officers who went to investigate the farmhouse, he actually had his own encounter with the extraterrestrial that left him, let's say, more receptive and open-minded to their story. During the summer of 1954, Dudas and another officer had allegedly seen 3 flying saucers while on duty. When asked about his thoughts regarding the claims brought forward regarding the Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter, he stated,
I think the whole story is entirely plausible. I know I saw the saucers. If I saw them, the Kelly story could certainly be true.
So, what exactly happened on the night of August the 21st, 1955? And what did the Taylors and Suttons see and shoot at for more than 4 hours? As soon as the story of the encounter broke, the validity of their story was immediately called into question. Many doubted that the Suttons were genuine in their retelling of the events, with some downright accusing the whole affair as being the result of a drunken debacle, the byproduct of drinking just a little too much moonshine. Remember when I mentioned stories that could be chalked up to Cletus huffing far too much paint thinner? That's basically an equivalent scenario that many people assumed led to the wild claims that came from the terrified families. However, in a surprising twist, the responding authorities had collectively agreed that nobody appeared to be under the influence of any sort of alcohol. So, it wasn't a collective hallucination following one hell of a bender. Got it. If that's the case, then what could it be? Like with the last Matt's Mysteries episode where we talked about the Mothman, this is another segment where I'm going to talk about birds.
You're welcome.
Another theory points to a terrestrial threat, specifically a large owl. Great horned owls are known to have long wingspans, large, glowing eyes, and pretty round heads. Specifically, they can grow to be around 2 feet in length, with wingspans double that height. The great gray owl also exists. These absolute feathered units are considered the largest owl species in North America, growing to nearly 3 feet in length. I suppose the feathers at the ends of their wings could, in theory, be mistaken for claws or talons in the darkness. This, coupled with their rounded heads, broad bodies, and large, glowing eyes, could have entirely led an already on-edge group of people to believe that a group of owls were in fact alien invaders. I got a bone to pick with that, and we'll get to that in a sec. Let's just put a pin in that for right now. This does not explain what Billy had seen streaking through the sky prior to the attack, and how the assailants seemed to bounce around and evade the fire from their rifles. I mean, I guess the men could have had just horrible aim, firing like blindfolded stormtroopers in a frenzied state of panic, but that's just a bit of speculation on my part. Terrible aim could also account for how the attackers were somehow able to evade the gunfire, but again, would do absolutely nothing to explain the alleged UFO that Billy had seen, and how the invaders seemed to glisten and shimmer in the night, as if they were made out of some sort of silvery material. Last time I checked, owls generally don't do that. And alright, here's a bit of a rant. I'm not some sort of cultured person when it comes to birds, but I do know what birds are, even under a cover of darkness. So, how is it that people who encounter the unknown and emerge with very specific physical characteristics of whatever they encountered are told,
I totally understand what you're describing. Here's a detailed drawing of what you just told me. The answer is bird.
like, give me a break. It's not like owls miraculously blinked into existence in 1954, with absolutely nobody on Earth having any sort of idea what those creatures are, resulting in them being misidentified as aliens. I find it really hard to believe that, if there is any validity to this story, that the Suttons and Taylors had somehow mistaken a regular, weird, yet oddly majestic parliament of owls for glowing, shiny creatures from outer space. Also, did you know a group of owls is called a parliament? I didn't, but now I do. And so do you. Alright, rant over. What didn't help the Sutton family appear as honest people who experienced something unusual was the fact that after the story of the attack on their farmhouse began to circulate, they actually tried to profit off of the newfound interest in their property. They did this by charging admission to survey said property. I mean, it would certainly be somewhat of a deterrent to some who had probably trespassed onto the property out of curiosity, but to others, it left a truly sour taste in their mouths. This greedy grift led to any remaining goodwill rapidly evaporating, with hostility even emerging in some circles. I get it, money usually leads to bad things. The Suttons would go on to actually leave Kelly 10 days later, never to return. The result of neighbors and townsfolk alike becoming incredibly cold and rather threatening. I don't think I'm alone in saying that I think this is kind of an unnecessary and extreme escalation. However, we don't know how liked or disliked the Suttons were before this whole debacle, and I'd wager that trying to grift a few clams from their neighbors probably didn't sit too well with the locals. The story of the Kelly-Hopkinsville Goblins has gone down in local history as somewhat of a legend. It has been told and retold, with many believers marveling at how the Suttons and Taylors engaged in battle with an army of alien attackers, with the defenders living to tell the tale. Whether or not you believe in aliens and alien contact, or more accurately, alien attacks, it's clear that they witnessed something so bizarre and so frightening that Billy Taylor and Lucky Sutton sought to empty their rifles into the Kentucky night in an attempt to protect their families from something. Something possibly extraterrestrial? Listen, I know that there's a crazy high number of encounters with humanoid critters that people chalk up to bad eyesight and sometimes gratuitously large owls, or other birds. Honestly, this may genuinely be the case here. There's also a chance that the Suttons fabricated a tall tale to try and fatten their wallets, considering that they actively tried profiting off of their apparent traumatic ordeal as soon as word spread. It could also be aliens. Look, space is big, like really big. Allow Professor Matt to give you a quick science lesson. Our Milky Way galaxy is home to some 200 billion stars, with a B, with an estimated 100 billion planets that orbit them. If we turn to the Drake equation, conceived in 1961 by Dr. Frank Drake to approximate the number of extraterrestrial civilizations in the cosmic void we call the universe, we find that our galaxy should be home to at least 20 of these civilizations. So, I personally want to believe that there is some sort of life, whether intelligent or otherwise, that exists somewhere in the cosmic void that is the universe. Like, let's be real. I think it would be super depressing if the only life that exists in our universe is limited to the pale blue dot we call home. That is, unless we're in some sort of simulation. That's totally not foreshadowing. Anyway, if we go by the Drake equation, there should be life somewhere other than Earth. But remember how I said space is really big? Like, somehow bigger than your mom, big? Well, unless aliens are able to go faster than the speed of light, break the laws of physics, manipulate the very fabric of reality and our universe, or some other type of high-tech wizardry to travel incomprehensibly large distances over a very short window of time, the likelihood that we've been visited in the past and are being visited now is kinda low. That is, unless they're in our solar system. When are we going to Europa, Titan, Enceladus, Venus, or any of the other celestial bodies in our solar system that may be able to foster some sort of life? Anyway, many ancient astronaut theorists believe that pretty much every important event in human history, that is, every accomplishment, evolutionary innovation and invention, every breakthrough in science, architecture, art, agriculture, and more, actually happened because of, well, aliens. That would mean that we as humans are basically hairless monkeys who can't tie our shoes without needing little green men to show us how it's done. I don't think I'm alone in saying that's kinda dumb, and super insulting to the great minds who have helped shepherd humanity to where we are today. I get it, this is kind of a tangent, but the point I'm trying to make is that while I do believe that there is life out there, I think it's pretty unlikely that we've been visited, based on how incomprehensibly big the universe is, and how difficult it is to travel the vast distances between stars, galaxies, and beyond. Unless they're interdimensional. Totally not foreshadowing. At the end of the day, I think this whole story may be just that, a story. It may have even been inspired by the notoriety the Roswell incident received, which occurred just 8 years earlier in 1947. Like many things on Matt's Mysteries, that's pure speculation on my part, but I think you get the idea. Anyway, do you believe in aliens? And what do you think the Taylors and Suttons saw on that warm August night? Thank you so much for tuning in to today's mystery. If there's a mystery you'd like me to cover, don't hesitate to leave a comment on the video. If you like what you saw and are interested in learning about more mysteries from a cartoon detective, consider subscribing to the channel. I'll post once a week and will occasionally post twice if I'm feeling extra rowdy. So get ready because there are a lot of mysteries for me to share. Until the next one, this is Matt telling you to stay mysterious.